Welcome back. Matt Gilmore and Robin Flynn filling in for Aaron Rand, who's taking a little bit of vacation this week. Are you feeling a bit overstimulated lately? It's a term we hear a lot online these days. Whether it's work, your phone, the kids never giving you a moment's rest, it can sometimes feel very overwhelming, the amount of stuff we have in our lives. But are you really overstimulated? Dr. Jessi Gold is a psychiatrist and chief wellness officer at the University of Tennessee, and she joins us now. Dr. Gold, hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So this scenario that I just kind of laid out with the phone coming at you and the work and the kids and the noise and the touching, I would assume you are going to say that that's not maybe actually overstimulated, that person is feeling.
Not by the definition we would use in psychiatry. I think it is by the definition people use online and sort of trendy. I think when they're talking about it, they just kind of mean there's a lot going on at once and they are overloaded by it and sometimes can't make decisions because of it or sometimes can't even know what to do next because of it. When we talk about it, we mean it's actually like your brain can't process all of the information it's receiving, often sensory. So loud noises, bright lights, strong smells, like contact physically, all of that together, and it just feels like too much in that sense. That's like the mental health definition of overstimulated.
So usually when we talk about overstimulation, we're talking very often about neurodivergent individuals, so folks who fall somewhere on the autism spectrum or have ADHD. What does it look like to live as somebody who is, actually overstimulated? I guess you're thinking of certain foods you can't eat because of the textures or certain fabrics you can't wear because of the way it feels.
Yeah, and it really depends on what the reason for the overstimulation is. Like, it also happens in PTSD, which is a whole different thing, I think, for people. But really, it's like, let's say you're next to somebody and you don't want to be next to someone. All of us are kind of like, I don't really want to touch that person. They shouldn't be near me on this crowded train or in this like tiny elevator. But for somebody who really can't do it, it's almost like unbearable. Like, they might have a panic attack. They feel like they need to run away. They can't be in that elevator or on that subway train anymore. It's really intolerable, which most of us just feel kind of annoyed by it.
Speaking with Dr. Jessi Gold, psychiatrist and chief wellness officer for the University of Tennessee, about this idea of overstimulation, I guess maybe versus being overwhelmed by your life. And I guess my question is just, is there a real reason, or does it really matter the terms that we're using if someone is expressing a way that they're feeling?
I am not a big believer that we have to be so specific with all of the terms. I think it's just kind of understanding that might mean different things to different people. So if you're talking to someone who is neurodivergent or who has PTSD, what they might be experiencing is very different. So when you use the word, it could feel different to them, what they assume you're experiencing, or they might feel like you're in some way belittling their experience. So I think I leave words and terminology up to the person and how it feels like it best describes their experience. But I'm not a big we can't use that word as a trendy term or a colloquially if it feels like it resonates.
It seems like a lot of sort of what I call therapy speak has become very trendy online. Like, if I hear one more person say the word gaslighting, I feel like I'm going to go crazy. But, why do you think all of these therapy terminology words have become so trendy? Is it just because more of us are in therapy?
I think that could be one reason, which for a psychiatrist isn't bad, right? If we're using the terms because it's more normal and because we're getting more help, then that's great. I think some of it is just access, which again isn't bad for me either. Like, social media and looking out for answers when you don't have any has become a place where a lot of people, particularly over the pandemic, turn to understanding their lived experience. And there are a lot of people on there that are therapists or not therapists talking about mental health terminology. And I think it seeps through that way, particularly via things like TikTok and videos. But, when people look for answers and they feel like a term resonates and then they keep using it, but then they don't go get help as a result, I feel like that's where it becomes problematic for me, which is like, if you see a diagnosis and you say, well, I saw that having trouble concentrating means I have ADHD, but then you don't go talk to someone about why that video resonated or what you could do to improve your life as a result. I think that next step is what is often missing when we just use it sort of as speak.
You do also hear a lot of people sort of casually using terms online these days, like ADHD or like PTSD. You know, that thing gave me PTSD, or there's my ADHD brain going again. Those types of things you hear a lot or you see a lot online. And I wonder if, you know, for people who are actually experiencing the clinical definition of PTSD, or who are diagnosed ADHD or do have autism spectrum disorder, and they're seeing these kinds of words used so flippantly, is there some sort of, is it kind of problematic that people are using these kinds of words or these definitions when they don't actually have those things? They're just sort of saying silly me almost.
It can be stigmatizing. I think mental health language has long been something that people use like wrong colloquially. Like when we say we're depressed, most people don't mean they have major depression. They just mean they're sad. And so understanding the difference is relevant. And as a person experiencing it, you might see a video that says you have ADHD if you have a bunch of tabs open. Well, that doesn't mean you have ADHD, and it doesn't like really resonate with their lived experience. And so it could feel like it's minimizing it, or that people don't understand, or that it's sort of like everyone has it, so it must not be a big problem for you. So I think when we use diagnostic terms, it can be hard for people when they're actually living with it to explain their experience to people, or to feel like they're understood for how severe it is and how much it's impacting their life.
Dr. Jessi Gold is a psychiatrist and chief wellness officer for the University of Tennessee. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Gold. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.